the world of shoulder. And which shoulder do you want me to work with you with? Which side should we work with? We'll never agree, so how about one and then the other, and then the other, and then the other? So take a moment to sense. We'll do a different kind of sensing now. From the lowest point of your spine, from the lowest point of your spine, coming up through the middle of your sacrum, through your lower spine, middle spine, what about the part of your spine in between your shoulder blades? Is it possible to sense that, or is it clear or not so clear, or more clear coming from the right or from the left? And roll your head now right and left. And when you roll your head like that to the right and to the left, how much of you is involved in that movement? Well, first maybe you feel, first distinction would be if it goes easier to the right or easier to the left. And then we could say, how far down your spine do you feel the movement of rolling the head? And then bring your head back to the middle. And put your right hand in, it's kind of an inverted bridge position. So you put the right hand, and everybody, so many people knew what that was, but you put your right palm on the floor somewhere near the right side of your face, your right shoulder, with your fingers, I'm not going to actually show you, with your fingers facing footward and a little bit outward. It's like a bridge. Your elbow is toward the ceiling. Your elbow is in the air toward the ceiling, and you're attempting to have your right forearm, lower arm, so your elbow is in the air toward the ceiling, and you're attempting to have your right forearm more or less vertical. And at the moment, almost nobody can do that, but don't worry. We'll see what's going to happen, but that's the kind of indication. What would it, you can at least think about it. Just even thinking about what it would mean to have your forearm vertical in this position is already a kind of something your brain has to puzzle out, sensing where that arm is in space in a very unfamiliar position. Now, so where do you feel the comfort or the discomfort of that? And then bend your right knee and put your right foot standing. And feel as you do that if it makes a difference in your ability to have the arm in this position. And if you're not sure, you can straighten the leg and bend it and try to find out, talking about experiments and research, try to find out in your own sensation How come bending the knee changes how you feel the right arm in a bridge? What part of yourself is influenced by the bending of the knee such that the way that your upper arm is sitting in your joint becomes more comfortable? Or is it something in your spine? Is it in your ribs? Okay, and then stay with the right foot bent, right knee bent, and do a very simple movement of pushing your right foot into the floor, lifting your right hip away from the floor, and shifting, allowing your weight to shift to the left and back to the middle. And do it in such a way that you can begin to find the size of the movement and the tempo of the movement where you can be, as Moshe used to say, where you can be comfortable in your misery. Find a way to do it to make yourself comfortable in your misery, not too big, not too strong. And then, and if you're not miserable, that's fine too. Turn your face to the left and do the movement as small as you want, as slow as you want, but little by little, think that as you do that movement, your right elbow and your right knee will go away from each other in space. So the right means the right knee would go a little bit downward, the right elbow would go a little bit upward. And come back home. And then in this movement, like what we did this morning, could you actually, many of you are doing it already, which is to keep the knee vertical. So not tilting the knee to the left, but it's almost as if somebody pulls through the knee in the direction of your right foot, pulls through the elbow, the opposite direction, and something in between your elbow and your knee is going to be moved whether you want it or not. Where do you feel it? Go slow. Keep your breathing easy. That's it. And then just a few times, if you thought of allowing your head to slide a little bit backward through the gap. Some of you don't have enough of a gap, but the gap would be between your right hand and your right shoulder. There'd be enough space for the head to slide a little bit backward. And keep your knee vertical. Go slow and keep your breathing free. So just because I gave a new instruction of the let's say the possibility of taking the head backward through the gap, and most of you did not take the bait, it means you didn't jump into achieving it, so I salute you. And then, as always, one or two, if they don't prove that they can get the head through the gap before any other human, you know. So you don't have to prove anything. Take your time. Just feel what would it be to allow the head to go back like that? Without working a lot in your neck. Okay, put the arm down and rest a little bit. Listen to your breathing, and even if it's different on one side of your chest or the other, how you sense your right shoulder, your back of your pelvis on the right side. Your right arm. Bend your left knee. Sorry, put your left arm in a bridge position. Actually, go ahead and do it with and without the leg bent on this side too, so you get another chance to kind of think not in words in a way. It's thinking not in words, but to just sense where in you, how in you, does something feel better with the knee bent, easier with the knee bent, if it does. When you take the left arm in a bridge. And maybe for those of you, there's a few of you who, when you go to put the left hand in the bridge, there's a lot of space between your hand and the floor. It means you're not able yet to do it. So you could, just looking around, if it's really, really so much of a strain that it makes it like difficult to pay attention to anything, you can bring the floor up to your hand, means put a couple of boards, put a couple of these nice blue things, maybe even one more. And then little by little as it improves, you can adjust that. Just want to find. Raise your leg if you need that, and Lisa will come around and help me with that. Does anybody else need something for under their hands? We'll bring it to you. To do that? You mean to do knuckles? No, it better not to, if you can help it. Better to have the hand on it. Okay, so now bend the left knee, have the left arm in a bridge, lift your left hip away from the floor, let the left knee go forward, let the elbow and the knee go away from each other, and you don't need to take the head through the gap, but just feel. You can turn the face to the right and simply feel. If the head is influenced by the movement down below, lower down. Something in your spine, in your chest, in your ribs. And if the shoulder blade is free to slide a little bit. And I suppose it would be interesting to ask you if there's some difference that you feel. Is the shoulder that your partner worked with any more free than the other shoulder? Kind of depends, doesn't it? What's usually freer, but on the shoulder that was touched, is it easier to feel not only the shoulder blade moving, but maybe something in your clavicle or and put your arm down again, rest. And each time sensing how the different back parts of yourself touch the floor, how you sense and locate your shoulders or different vertebrae of the spine or the back of the pelvis. Something's changing from the lesson, from the whole day, really. Where you feel the movement of breath as the air comes in or goes out. And now roll onto your left side. Bend your knees. Put your left arm out in front of yourself. And put your right hand standing somewhere above your head, with the fingers pointing a little bit slightly downward, slightly. Or you could put the hand behind your head, although most people may not find that so easy, above the head or a little bit behind the head. And in this situation, take your head backward through the gap, slowly. Begin to take the head backward through the gap and feel if you can do that using somehow more of yourself besides just the neck. So find out if there's something you would do with your pelvis, if there's something you would do with your spine. Keep the effort easy. The back of the head back through the gap. So not turning your face. You keep your face for the moment facing the wall. And you allow the back of the head to slide backward. And what would happen all through the spine? And do you pull your abdomen in as you do that movement, or you push the abdomen out as you do that movement? Find the size and the tempo that allows you to spread your attention through more and more of yourself. Otherwise, you just make a big effort in the neck, and tomorrow it doesn't feel nice. So slowly. And you feel where you should put the left arm in order to be comfortable. Not rotating the head, sliding the back of the head backward. What needs to happen in your chest, in your sternum, as you do that? And coming back home, the chest moves as well. Try pushing the abdomen out as the back of the head goes backward, and allowing your sternum to lift a little bit. Good. And go on your back. And again, feel the way your right shoulder's lying, back parts of yourself. Put the right hand standing in a bridge position without bending the knee, first of all. Let's come back to this. Of course, is much more demanding to organize how you use your clavicle and shoulder blade and upper ribs and wrist, everything without the knee bent. But just feel if this was helped by the previous variation of lying on your side like that, taking the back of the head backward, and then bend your right knee, put your right foot standing. And turn your face to the left. Lift the left hip joint. And by the way, just again, is it a little easier to have your arm in this position now? Where do you feel maybe a little bit of help? A little bit of help. And then lift your right hip and let the knee and the elbow go away from each other. And in this situation, feel what you do with your sternum. It's a little bit different than when you were on your side. Do you turn it? Do you slide it? Do you lift it? Do you do some kind of interesting combination between all of those things? And if you remember that your sternum has both of those clavicles, as Margaret showed you, so both of the clavicles are connecting to your sternum. So if the sternum is moving and the shoulder is moving, and what's happening with your clavicle? There can be this movement. Again, she said at both ends. So for sure there can be this movement of your clavicle relative to your sternum. How could that help you? Does that help you to think of that? To look for that? What would it be? And then the movement of the shoulder blade differentiated from the ribs underneath. What would that be? And when it feels like enough for you, you can rest. You can rest anytime you want to. You don't need to. I mean, of course, again, in the beginning, you're just getting used to having a new person guiding you through. But remember, you rest when if the quality goes down and learning stops, it means you need to rest. All right, rest a little bit. It's a big demand for you today coming from many people had to travel, have busy lives, everything like that. So. Now, lie on your other side. So you lie on your right side. You put your right arm out in front. Put the left arm overhead. And make the smallest movement you can. Just the beginning of the movement of taking the back of the head backward through the gap. You put the arm is the hand. Your left hand is either over your head or, if you can, a little bit behind the head. The fingers are pointing slightly downward and slightly diagonal. And the palm is on the floor. And you make the smallest movement that you can. of taking the back of the head backward. And find out what every part of yourself needs to do so that the neck vertebrae are not doing the whole job of the movement. So in the pelvis, in your lower back, in your middle back, part of your back spine in between your shoulder blades. And in order for the part of your spine in between your shoulder blades to move, you have to do something with your sternum in the front, isn't it? And in order for the sternum in the front to move, maybe it helps to allow the belly to be free. And little by little, with that tiny little movement, just the beginning of something, you find out if you can have your attention spread more and more throughout your entire self. The front, the back, the side you lie on, the side that faces the ceiling, down to your sex, your tailbone. There's always some part you don't think of, the soles of your feet, the base of the skull. And notice as you keep on doing that tiny little movement, but with the spreading of the attention and the gathering of more and more of your entire self, if it becomes simpler, easier, more pleasurable to think of the movement of allowing the back of the head to go backward. You can let it grow a little bit, but just let it grow in relation to continuing this sense of the whole of yourself. So if at any point the size of the movement begins to disconnect you from this more global sensation, then the global sensation is more important than the size of the movement. And each time finding some new part of yourself to be included. Slowly rest a little on the back, just as demanding for the wrist until we get a little bit more help. Listen to your breathing, how your shoulder blades lie, back of your pelvis. Any place in your spine that you feel a little bit more clearly now. Bend your left knee, put your left foot standing. Put your left arm in a bridge. And push your left foot into the floor at the same time you push your left hand into the floor. And feel if the way you go away from home, how do you really do it? Do you lift the hip and the shoulder simultaneously? Do you do it more sequentially, that you lift the hip and you come up through the spine and then you lift your shoulder? You're actually not. Can you put the hand on if we give you some? Mm-hmm. And feel what the movements line on the side arch in your back. How does it change now, how you do this movement? But yeah, of course, now that we've laid on the side, everybody comes out of the constraint. A lot of people are tilting the knee now. You're trying to get back onto your side. So do keep the knee vertical. Feel how much the left shoulder blade can slide and the movement of the clavicle on both sides, movement of your sternum. And then just a few times you you begin the movement by pressing with the foot, lifting the hip, coming through the spine, and then the shoulder last. And when you come back home, you put the shoulder down first and the hip down last. So you reverse it just a few times like that. You initiate from the hip joint coming upward, and you come back home. With the shoulder coming back home first and the hip joint last. And there, when you do that, when you put the shoulder, take the shoulder back home first, you can really, you get a different kind of sense of what we call the shoulder girdle, isn't it? Because you can feel the shoulder blade coming back, the movement of the clavicle, your chest high up on the left. Okay, and then a few times any way you want. Start it from anywhere you want. See if the back of the head could slide backward in such a way that you do the least amount of work possible with the neck. The mobilization of your pelvis, your spine, your ribs. Allow the head to be light. You'll feel at the moment, you'll feel a certain moment, the head becomes a little unweighted from the floor, and that's the moment it's quite easy to allow it to go backward. What's your hand doing on the floor now? That was fast. Good. Oh, that's good. We took away all those pads. It changed quite quickly. Amazing. We can smile. We can enjoy ourselves, huh? That's good. She went from a 3-pad woman down to nothing. All right, rest a little bit. Good. I wonder what happened. Okay. Roll your head right and left again, like we did in the beginning. And feel if it goes a little bit differently. How do you sense that? And how far down your spine do you feel the movement of the turning of your head? Does that question have a little bit more meaning now? That your neck really begins maybe much lower down than you sometimes think of it. Neck is a funny kind of word in terms of our self-image. And is it easier now to turn your head right and left and feel that the rhythm of the breath goes on unimpeded but perceptible? Means you can be aware of both things now, the turning of the head, the movement of the spine, the air coming in and out without a special attempt to be aware, but it's just possible that the field of awareness is expanded in order to be able to include more things. Quite naturally, really. It's just there, it's just possible to perceive. And then bring your head back to the middle. Bend your knees. Roll up to sitting. Feel yourself for a moment in sitting. Bit more skeleton than when you arrived this morning. On the way to, and stand up. Bit more something. I don't know, you decide a bit more what. Or a bit less what? A bit more noise in your head, in your brain? More quiet inside there? Or what? Walk around a little bit. Okay, enough learning for one day. Get some sleep. And sleep well, sleep deeply. And we'll see you in the morning.
But before you go, please wash your cup. Danielle will make sure there's soapy water waiting for you, and she will tidy up the teas and coffees and make sure there's milk out. But your job is to wash your cup.
I think you know what I think we're going to do? I think we're going to make a song up this segment. We'll make up a song about washing the cups. And
one other thing,